Jake Morrison wiped sweat from his forehead as he guided his cargo ship through the thick atmosphere of Kepler 432b. The old freighter groaned and shook, but she held together like always. He had been flying supply runs to remote planets for 12 years, and this job was just like any other. Or so he thought. The planet below looked dead and rocky. Strange purple clouds drifted across orange skies. Jake could see the research camp from his cockpit window. A few small buildings and tents sat near some old ruins that stuck up from the ground like broken teeth. His radio crackled to life. A woman's voice came through the static. "Star Runner, this is Research Station Alpha. We see you coming in. Land, at Pad 2. "Copy that, Alpha. Coming in for landing," Jake replied. He set the ship down with a heavy thud. The engines wound down with a tired wheeze. Jake grabbed his manifest pad and headed for the cargo bay. The air outside smelled strange, like metal and something else he could not name. A woman in a dusty worksuit jogged over to meet him. She had brown hair pulled back in a ponytail and bright green eyes that seemed excited about something. Jake guessed she was around 30 years old. "You must be Morrison," she said, offering her hand. "I'm Lisa Parker, xenoarchaeologist. Thanks for making the trip out here." Jake shook her hand. "No problem. Got your supplies right here. Food, water, equipment parts, and some kind of fancy scanner thing." Lisa's eyes lit up. "The quantum resonator. Great, we've been waiting for that. You should see what we found down in the ruins. It's incredible." "Yeah? What kind of stuff?" Jake asked as he started unloading crates. "Well, that's the weird part," Lisa said, helping him carry a heavy box. "These ruins are supposed to be from an old human settlement, but the technology we're finding doesn't match anything in our history books. Some of it looks way more advanced than what we can make today." Jake paused. "How's that possible? Humans only got to space a few hundred years ago." "That's what everyone thought," Lisa said quietly. "But these ruins are over 10,000 years old." Before Jake could ask more questions, a tall blue alien came running over to them. He had 4 arms and big black eyes that took up most of his face. Jake recognized him as a Zephyrian. They were known for being smart but not very careful. "Ms. Parker, Ms. Parker," the alien called out in perfect English. "The resonator. We need it now. I found something amazing in the deep chamber." Lisa sighed. "Jake, this is Kethvar Zilnoth. He's our lead researcher's assistant." "Kethvar, slow down. What did you find?" Kethvar bounced on his feet with excitement. "A crystal. A huge crystal in the center of the chamber. It's giving off energy readings like nothing we've ever seen. If we scan it with the quantum resonator, we might finally understand what this place really was." Jake handed over the scanner case. "Just be careful with that thing. It cost more than my ship." Of course. Kethvar grabbed the case and ran toward the ruins. Lisa watched him go and shook her head. That kid is going to get himself in trouble one day. They finished unloading the supplies in silence. Jake found himself looking at the ruins more closely. Now that Lisa had mentioned it, some of the shapes did look strange. The metal was too smooth, the angles too perfect. It didn't look like anything humans had ever built. "Want to see the dig site?" Lisa asked. "We have about an hour before Kethvar probably blows something up." Jake laughed. "Sure, why not?" They walked down a ramp that led into the ruins. Electric lights had been strung along the walls, casting strange shadows on the smooth surfaces. The deeper they went, the more Jake felt something odd in his chest, like a tightness he had never felt before. "This is our main find," Lisa said, stopping at a large room. "Look at these wall panels." Jake stared at the walls. They were covered in symbols and pictures that seemed to show battles. Ships fighting in space, soldiers in armor, strategic maps of star systems. It all looked very familiar somehow, though Jake was sure he had never seen anything like it. "Weird," he said. "It's like I almost understand what these pictures mean." Lisa nodded. "I've been having the same feeling. Ever since we started working down here, I've been having strange dreams. Dreams about battles and tactics and things I've never studied." A loud humming sound started echoing through the tunnels. Then came a flash of bright light from deeper in the ruins. "That can't be good," Jake said. They ran toward the light. The Humming got louder and louder. They found Kethvar in a circular chamber standing over the broken pieces of a large crystal. The quantum resonator was smoking in his hands. "Oops," Kethvar said weakly. The broken crystal was sending out waves of energy that Jake could actually see. Purple light rippled through the air like water. Each wave made Jake feel stranger. His head started to hurt, but also felt clearer than it ever had before. "What did you do?" Lisa shouted over the noise. "I just wanted to scan it. But when I turned on the resonator, the crystal started vibrating and then it just exploded." The energy waves were getting stronger. Jake felt something changing inside his mind. He looked at the chamber they were standing in and suddenly saw it differently. Not as an old room, but as a tactical position. He noticed where the exits were, how many people could take cover behind each wall, what the best firing angles would be. Why was he thinking about firing angles? He was a cargo pilot, not a soldier. Lisa was staring at the walls with a strange look in her eyes. "Jake," she said slowly, "I think I know what these symbols mean now. They're not just pictures of battles. They're battle plans, strategic maps, and they're written in a way that makes perfect sense to me, even though I've never studied military tactics in my life." The energy waves suddenly stopped. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of their breathing. But something had changed. Jake could feel it in every cell of his body, like he had been asleep his whole life and was just now waking up. Alarms started going off in the research station above them. "We should get out of here," Jake said. But as he said it, he was already planning 3 different escape routes and calculating how long it would take security forces to respond to the alarms. Military thoughts that had no business being in a cargo pilot's head. They ran back through the tunnels. When they reached the surface, Jake saw something that made him stop cold. A security drone was malfunctioning, spinning in circles and firing its stun beam randomly. It was heading straight for a group of researchers. Without thinking, Jake sprinted toward the drone. His body moved in ways he had never trained for. He rolled under its firing arc, came up behind it, and struck 3 specific points on its hull in rapid sequence. The drone shut down and crashed to the ground. Everyone stared at him. Jake stared at his own hands. He had no idea how he knew how to do that. Lisa walked over to him slowly. "Jake," she said, "cargo pilots don't know military combat techniques." Jake nodded, feeling scared and confused. "I know. I've never even been in a fight before today." Far across the galaxy, on a world of crystal spires and floating cities, an ancient being felt the disturbance in the cosmic web. Elder Vexthani had been meditating for 300 years, but now her eyes snapped open. The seals were breaking. The sleeping war gods were beginning to wake up. She reached out with her mind to contact the other elders. After 10,000 years of peace, the most dangerous species in the galaxy was remembering what they really were, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. The energy wave from the broken crystal spread through space like ripples in a pond. It moved faster than light, touching every human settlement across the galaxy. Most people felt nothing more than a brief headache or a moment of dizziness, but for some humans, the wave brought something much more powerful. Commander Alex Carter was reviewing supply reports at Haven Point Station when the wave hit him. He was a quiet man who had run the trading station for 8 years without any major problems. The station sat at the edge of human space where merchant ships stopped to refuel and trade goods with alien civilizations. Alex dropped his coffee cup as pain shot through his head. When the pain faded, he looked around his office with new eyes. The station's layout suddenly seemed all wrong to him. The docking bays were too exposed. The main corridors had no defensive positions. The communication arrays could be easily destroyed by a single missile strike. Why was he thinking about missile strikes? Haven Point was a peaceful trading station. They had never been attacked by anyone. But as Alex walked through the station's corridors, he could not stop seeing weaknesses everywhere. The security cameras had blind spots, the blast doors were too thin. The weapon storage was in the worst possible location. His mind began drawing up plans to fix these problems, even though he had no military training. 3 days later, pirates attacked a human cargo ship near Haven Point. Alex watched the distress. Signals come in and felt something wake up inside his brain. Instead of calling for help from the nearest patrol ship, he found himself coordinating a rescue mission. All available ships, this is Haven Point Control, Alex said into his communicator. We have a cargo vessel under attack. I need the mining ship Red Rock to approach from the asteroid field. Transport ship Blue Sky, come in from the opposite side. Stay low and use the planet's gravity well to mask your approach. The pilots were confused. Commander, we're not military ships. We don't have weapons. You don't need weapons, Alex replied, though he had no idea where the knowledge was coming from. Red Rock, use your mining charges. Blue Sky, ram the lead pirate ship at their engine section. The structural damage will disable them without destroying their life support. The plan worked perfectly. The pirates were so surprised by the coordinated attack from civilian ships that they retreated immediately. Alex stared at the tactical display, wondering how he had known exactly what to do. Across the galaxy, Dr. Rachel Kim was studying subspace readings in her laboratory when she made a disturbing discovery. Rachel was a physicist who specialized in space-time anomalies. For months, she had been tracking strange energy patterns that seemed to have no natural cause. After the wave passed through her research station, Rachel began to see patterns in the data that she had missed before. The anomalies were not random. They formed a network that surrounded all of human space like a cage. The energy signatures were artificial, created by technology far more advanced than anything humans possessed. Rachel worked for 3 straight days, barely stopping to eat or sleep. Her mind felt sharper than it ever had before. Complex equations that would have taken her weeks to solve now came to her in minutes. She began to understand that humanity had been living inside some kind of containment field, but who had built it and why? On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Matt Johnson was patrolling the border between human and Krell space in his small patrol ship. Matt had been doing routine patrols for 5 years. His job was mostly to check shipping manifests and make sure traders were following safety regulations. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Everything changed when he encountered a Krell raiding fleet. The Krell were known throughout the galaxy as brutal pirates. They traveled in packs of fast attack ships and preyed on weak targets. When Matt's sensors picked up 8 Krell warships surrounding a human transport, he should have called for backup and stayed hidden. Instead, Matt found himself flying directly toward the enemy fleet. "This is Human Patrol Ship Liberty," he broadcast on all frequencies. "You will release that transport and leave this system immediately." The Krell laughed at him. 8 warships against 1 small patrol boat was not even a fair fight. They turned their weapons toward Matt's ship and prepared to destroy him quickly. But Matt was no longer the same man who had been flying boring patrol routes just days before. As the Krell ships moved to attack him, Matt saw their formation and immediately understood their weakness. They were flying too close together. Their heavy weapons could not target him if he stayed between their ships. Matt's fingers flew over, his controls with skill he had never possessed before. He dove through the center of the enemy formation, using their own ships as shields. His small patrol boat was much faster than their heavy warships. He led them on a chase through an asteroid field, where their larger ships struggled to follow him. The Krell became frustrated and started firing wildly. In their anger, they began hitting each other instead of Matt. 2 of their ships collided while trying to follow him through a narrow gap between asteroids. A 3rd ship was destroyed when it flew directly into the blast from another Krell vessel. Within an hour, the entire Krell fleet was either destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Matt had not fired a single shot. The human transport he had saved broadcast a message to all nearby systems. A single human patrol ship just defeated 8 Krell warships using tactics we have never seen before. Word of the battle spread quickly, through both human and alien communication networks. Other species began to take notice of these strange new human capabilities. In the capital city of the Draconian Empire, Senator Thorkmal received an urgent message from his intelligence network. The Draconians were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy, with a military that had never been defeated in open battle. But the news from the Outer Rim made the senator's blood run cold. Humans are beginning to demonstrate military abilities that exceed their known capabilities, the report stated. 3 separate incidents in the past week show tactical thinking and strategic planning that should be impossible given their limited military history. Senator Thorkmal immediately contacted the other members of the Ancient Alliance. The Vexani, elder who answered his call, looked tired and worried. "We know," Elder Vexani said before the senator could speak. "The seals are failing faster than we expected. The containment network is losing power across multiple sectors." "How long do we have?" Thorkmal asked. "Days, perhaps weeks. The humans are remembering who they were before we contained them. If we cannot restore the barriers soon, they will return to their natural state. And if that happens," the elder's expression was grim, "then the galaxy will burn as it did 10,000 years ago. The war gods will wake up, and no force in the universe will be able to stop them." Back on Haven Point Station, Alex Carter stood in his command center looking at tactical displays he had never needed before. His staff watched him with confusion as he ordered changes to the station's defenses. Weapon platforms that had been stored in warehouses for decades were being installed at strategic points around the station. "Sir," his assistant asked, "why are we militarizing the station? We've never had any serious threats before." Alex paused, trying to find words for the certainty he felt in his bones. "Because something is coming. I don't know what it is yet, but I can feel it. We need to be ready." He looked out at the stars through the command center's main window. Somewhere out there, other humans were experiencing the same awakening he was going through. They were remembering skills they had never learned and preparing for conflicts they could not yet see. The sleeping war gods were stirring, and the galaxy would never be the same. Colonel Sam Rodriguez had commanded humanity's small defense fleet for 10 years. The fleet was nothing impressive, just 12 patrol ships and 2 light cruisers spread across 3 star systems. Their main job was to chase away pirates and help lost cargo ships. Sam had always thought it was enough for humanity's peaceful way of life. But after the wave hit him, Sam began to see the truth. Humanity was surrounded by potential enemies and had almost no real defenses. Their ships were too few, too lightly, armed and positioned in all the wrong places. Any serious military force could roll over human space in a matter of weeks. Sam spent sleepless nights redesigning human defensive strategies. Plans flowed from his mind with frightening clarity. He knew exactly where to position ships for maximum coverage, how to use asteroid fields as natural fortresses, and which supply routes were most vulnerable to attack. The knowledge scared him because he had never studied advanced military tactics. Yet somehow he understood warfare better than generals who had spent decades learning their craft. Amy Chen worked in a small engineering shop on the human colony world of New Boston. She fixed broken machinery and designed simple tools for farmers and miners. Amy had always been good with her hands, but she had never been particularly brilliant or creative. That changed the day after the wave reached her planet. Amy woke up with her head full of weapon designs that should not have been possible with current human technology. She saw plans for energy shields, plasma cannons, and ships that could move faster than anything humans had ever built. Amy tried to ignore the visions at first. She was a peaceful person who had never even held a real weapon. But the designs would not leave her alone. They filled her dreams and distracted her during the day. Finally, she gave in and started building prototypes in her workshop. Her first creation was a small energy weapon that could punch holes through steel plates. The second was a personal shield generator that could stop most known projectiles. Both devices worked perfectly, even though the science behind them should have been decades beyond human understanding. Amy stared at her inventions and wondered what was happening to her. Where were these ideas coming from? Tony Mitchell was a smuggler who moved illegal goods between human and alien worlds. He was not a bad person, just someone who saw opportunities where others saw rules. Tony knew every trade route in human space and had contacts in a dozen different species. After the wave changed him, Tony began to see the galaxy's economy as a weapon. He understood how cutting off certain supply lines could cripple entire civilizations. He saw which resources were critical to different species and how shortages could be created to force political changes. Tony started quietly buying up contracts for key materials. He rerouted shipments and created artificial delays in deliveries. Within days, he had disrupted trade patterns that had been stable for decades. The changes were small, but Tony knew they were just the beginning of what was possible. On the Vex-Ani homeworld, High Arbiter Zex Karan convened an emergency meeting of the Ancient Alliance. Representatives from 5 species gathered in the Crystal Council chamber that had not been used for 1,000 years. "The situation is worse than we feared," Zex Karan announced. "Our agents report that human military capabilities are increasing exponentially. They are displaying tactical knowledge that should have been erased from their genetic memory." Senator Thorkmal shifted nervously in his seat. "How many humans have been affected?" "We estimate that roughly 1 in every 1,000 humans is experiencing significant awakening," replied the Vex-Ani intelligence coordinator. "But the effect is spreading. Each awakened human seems to trigger awakening in others nearby." A Kethran engineer spoke up. "The containment network is failing faster than our models predicted. We are losing control nodes across human space. At the current rate, complete system failure will occur within 2 months. Then we must take more direct action," said a Morden, economist. "We have teams standing by to eliminate the most dangerous awakened humans. Make their deaths look like accidents." Zex Karan nodded grimly. "Authorization granted. Begin with the military leaders and weapons designers. If we can remove the key figures, we might slow down the overall awakening process." The first assassination attempt targeted Colonel Rodriguez during a routine inspection flight. His patrol ship was supposed to suffer a computer malfunction that would send it crashing into an asteroid. The alien saboteurs had planted false data in the navigation system, but Rodriguez was no longer the same man who had taken off that morning. As his ship approached the asteroid field, his awakened tactical mind immediately recognized the trap. The navigation errors were too convenient, too perfectly timed. Someone was trying to kill him. Rodriguez manually overrode his ship's computer and flew through the asteroid field using skills he had never been taught. He evaded 3 different kill zones and made it safely back to base. More importantly, he now knew that someone wanted him dead. The second attempt went after Amy Chen. A fire was supposed to start in her workshop, destroying both her and her weapons prototypes. But Amy had installed security systems designed with her new understanding of defensive tactics. She detected the intruders before they could plant their incendiary devices. Amy did not just escape the trap. She captured 2 of the would-be assassins and forced them to reveal who had sent them. For the first time, humans learned about the Ancient Alliance and the conspiracy that had controlled their development for 10,000 years. Jake Morrison and Lisa Parker were analyzing artifacts from the ruins when they received an encrypted message from Colonel Rodriguez. The message contained evidence of the assassination attempts and intelligence about the alien conspiracy. "They've been controlling us," Lisa said quietly as she read through the files. "For our entire recorded history, we've been living as prisoners in our own galaxy." Jake felt anger building inside him. It was not the quick flash of temper that normal people felt, but something deeper and more dangerous. His awakened mind began calculating response strategies, considering targets, weighing the costs of different types of retaliation. "What do we do about it?" Jake asked. Lisa was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up at him with eyes that held no trace of the peaceful archaeologist she had been just weeks before. "We fight back." The final assassination attempt targeted Captain Matt Johnson while he was escorting a merchant convoy through neutral space. A joint force of Krell and Zephyrian ships was waiting for him in an ambush that should have been impossible to escape. 12. Enemy warships against 1 patrol boat was not even close to a fair fight, but Matt was no longer fighting alone. His awakened mind was connected to something larger, a network of tactical knowledge that spanned all of awakened humanity. As the enemy ships closed in, Matt executed a battle plan that no single human could have devised. He used the merchant ships as mobile shields, coordinated their movements with split-second precision, and turned the convoy itself into a weapon. The battle lasted only minutes. When it was over, the entire enemy task force had been destroyed or disabled. Matt's patrol boat had not taken a single hit. The merchant crews stared at their escort in amazement. unable to understand how such a victory was possible. But across human space, other awakened humans had felt the battle through their shared connection. They understood that Matt had not been fighting alone. All of awakened humanity had been with him, sharing their knowledge and skill. The ancient alliance watched their carefully planned operation turn into a complete disaster. Not only had they failed to stop the awakening, they had accelerated it. Each assassination attempt had only made the awakened humans stronger and more connected to each other. "We have made a terrible mistake," Elder Vexithani told the Emergency Council. "We thought we were dealing with individual humans gaining random abilities, but they are not individuals anymore. They are becoming something we never planned for." "What do you mean?" Zexkaran demanded. "They are linking together, sharing knowledge across vast distances. The awakening is creating a collective consciousness of warfare and strategy. We are not fighting separate humans anymore. We are fighting humanity itself." High above the human colony world of New Boston, long-range sensors detected the first signs of a massive alien fleet forming at the edge of the system. The ancient alliance had decided that subtle assassination was no longer possible. They were preparing for open war against the awakening war gods, and humanity was ready for them. Dr. Kevin Walsh had always been interested in old human history, but most records only went back a few hundred years. The official story was that humans had developed space travel recently and had always been a peaceful species focused on trade and exploration. After the awakening hit him, Kevin began to question everything he thought he knew. He started digging through old archives, searching for records that might have been hidden or forgotten. What he found in the deepest storage vaults of the human colonial archives changed everything. The files were marked with codes that no longer existed in any database. They were written in ancient languages that Kevin somehow understood, despite never studying them. As he read through page after page of forgotten history, a terrible truth emerged. 10,000 years ago, humans had been very different. They had developed faster than light travel not for peaceful exploration, but for war. Human warrior states had spread across the galaxy like a plague, conquering or destroying every civilization they encountered. The records described battles that lasted for centuries, human fleets that moved with perfect coordination across hundreds of star systems, weapons that could crack planets and strategies that no alien species could counter. For 500 years, humanity had been the galaxy's greatest nightmare. Then something had happened. The records became unclear, but Kevin could piece together the basic story. The remaining alien civilizations had formed an alliance and managed to trap the human fleets in a massive ambush. Instead of destroying humanity completely, they had chosen what they believed was mercy. They had created the peaceful veil. Kevin read the technical specifications with growing horror. The veil was not just a simple mind control device. It was a complete rewrite of human nature, suppressing not only aggression but also the strategic thinking and innovation that made humans so dangerous. The technology worked by altering human brain chemistry at the genetic level, ensuring that the changes would be passed down to future generations. For 10,000 years, humanity had been living as prisoners in their own bodies. President Helen Davis received Kevin's report while she was dealing with the worst political crisis in human history. Across human space, awakened humans were demanding answers about the conspiracy. Some wanted revenge against the alien species that had enslaved them. Others called for immediate military action to prevent future attacks. Helen had been a career diplomat before becoming president. She had built her reputation on peaceful negotiations and compromise. But as the awakening spread through her own mind, she began to see the political situation with new clarity. Humanity was surrounded by enemies who had been lying to them for thousands of years. Every trade agreement, every diplomatic treaty, every peaceful interaction had been built on the foundation of human enslavement. The aliens had never seen humans as equals. They had seen them as dangerous animals that needed to be kept in cages. Helen called an emergency session of the Human Colonial Council. Representatives from every human world gathered via video link to discuss their response to the crisis. "The evidence is clear," Helen announced to the assembled leaders. "We have been the victims of the largest conspiracy in galactic history, Every aspect of our civilization has been carefully controlled to keep us weak and dependent. Governor Martinez from the farming world of Green Valley raised his hand. What do we do about it? We can't fight the entire galaxy. Can't we? The voice came from General Rick Thompson, who had recently been appointed to lead humanity's defense forces. Thompson was one of the most powerfully awakened humans, and his strategic mind could see possibilities that others missed. Our population is over 50 billion people spread across 200 worlds, Thompson continued. If even 1% of us fully awaken to our true nature, we will have the most formidable military force the galaxy has ever seen. The aliens know this. That's why they're preparing to attack us now, before we become too strong to stop. Helen looked at the intelligence reports on her desk. Alien fleets were massing at the borders of human space. The ancient alliance was preparing for open war. General Thompson is right, Helen said finally. They're going to attack us whether we fight back or not. The only question is whether we meet them as free humans, or as the slaves they want us to remain. Ambassador Nexathara of the Centaurian Republic arrived at Earth just as the human colonial council was voting on their response to the alien threat. The Centaurians were one of the few species that had not been part of the original alliance, and Nexathara genuinely wanted to prevent a galactic war. She met with President Davis in the white-walled conference room that had hosted countless peaceful diplomatic meetings. But the woman who greeted her was not the same Helen Davis that Nexathara had negotiated with many times before. Ambassador, Helen said with a cold smile that did not reach her eyes, I assume you're here to offer terms for our surrender. President Davis, please. I'm here to prevent bloodshed. The Alliance is offering humanity full membership in the galactic community if you will accept treatment to reverse the awakening process. Helen laughed, and the sound made Nexathara's skin crawl. Treatment? You mean re-enslavement? The answer is no. You don't understand the consequences, Nexathara pleaded. If humanity returns to its original nature, the galaxy will burn. Billions of innocent beings will die. The galaxy burned for 500 years the last time, Helen replied. But this time will be different. How can you be sure? Helen stood and walked to the window that looked out over Earth's capital city. Because this time we know what we're fighting for. Last time we conquered for the sake of conquest. This time we're fighting for our freedom and our right to exist. Nexathara left Earth knowing that her mission had failed. War was inevitable. On the research station where it all began, Lisa Parker made the most important discovery of her career. Deep in the ancient ruins, she found a hidden chamber that had been sealed for thousands of years. Inside was a holographic archive that told the real story of humanity's first expansion. The images showed Earth as it had been long ago, a blue-green world orbiting a young star. But the recordings revealed that humans had not started their expansion for conquest or resources. They had been fleeing something. The archive contained warnings about ancient machine intelligences from another galaxy, artificial minds that had evolved beyond their creators and had developed an insatiable hunger for organic life. Every 50,000 years they awakened from their long sleep and swept across the galaxy, harvesting advanced civilizations for raw materials. Humanity's warrior culture had developed as a response to this threat. The aggressive expansion, the advanced weapons, the strategic thinking, all of it had been preparation for a war that most humans had never understood they were fighting. The last time the machines had come, humanity had driven them back at enormous cost. Most of human civilization had been destroyed in the fighting. The survivors had spread across the galaxy to rebuild and prepare for the next invasion. But then the peaceful veil had been activated, and humanity had forgotten their purpose. Lisa transmitted her findings to General Thompson and President Davis. As they reviewed the ancient warnings, long-range sensors detected something that made their blood run cold. At the edge of the galaxy, automated monitoring stations were going, silent one by one. The pattern was exactly what the ancient records predicted would happen when the machine intelligences began to wake up. Thompson studied the data with his awakened, tactical mind. The Alliance made a catastrophic mistake. By suppressing humanity, they removed the galaxy's only real defense against the machines. How long do we have? Helen asked. Based on the sensor blackouts, the advanced scouts will reach the galaxy's edge within 6 months. The main harvest fleet will arrive within 2 years. Helen looked at the reports of alien battle fleets gathering to attack human space. So we have to fight a war on 2 fronts. Against the alliance that enslaved us and against the machines that want to harvest all organic life. Thompson nodded grimly. The alliance species don't even know what's coming. Their peaceful civilizations will be helpless against the machines. Only awakened humanity has the capability to stand against them. Then we need to wake up fast, Helen said. How many humans are fully awakened now? About 50,000, Thompson replied. But the number is growing exponentially. Every day more control nodes fail, and more humans remember who they really are. Helen made her decision. Send a message to every human world. Tell them the truth about our history and about the threat that's coming. It's time for the war gods to fully awaken. Across human space, the message spread like wildfire. As humans learned the truth about their past and their purpose, the awakening accelerated beyond all predictions. Entire planets began to transform, as their populations remembered their warrior heritage. The ancient alliance watched in growing terror as humanity prepared for war. But they had no choice except to attack. If they allowed humanity to fully awaken, no force in the galaxy would be able to stop them. The stage was set for a conflict that would determine the fate of every living being in the galaxy. The sleeping war gods were almost fully awake, and the universe trembled at their coming. The war began at dawn on a Tuesday morning. The ancient alliance struck first, sending massive fleets against 12 human worlds simultaneously. They expected to find peaceful colonists armed with simple defense platforms and a few patrol ships. Instead, they found something that had not existed in the galaxy for 10,000 years. They found humanity at war. Admiral Jake Morrison commanded the defense of the new Terra system from the bridge of humanity's first true warship in millennia. The vessel had been built in just 6 weeks, using designs that Amy Chen had pulled from awakened human genetic memory. It was faster, more maneuverable, and deadlier than anything the Alliance had ever seen. "Enemy fleet approaching," reported his tactical officer. 200 ships, multiple species, they're demanding our surrender. Jake felt the collective consciousness of awakened humanity flowing through his mind. Every human commander across the galaxy was sharing their knowledge with him. He could see the battle not just from his own perspective, but from dozens of different viewpoints simultaneously. "Tell them that humanity does not surrender anymore," Jake said calmly. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega." The human fleet moved, like a single organism. Where Alliance commanders expected chaotic resistance, they found perfect coordination. Human ships appeared and disappeared through the battle space using tactics that seemed impossible. They struck at weak points that should have been impossible to detect, then vanished before return fire could reach them. The battle for New Terra lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the entire Alliance attack fleet had been destroyed or captured. Not a single human ship had been lost. Similar victories occurred across human space. At every target system, Alliance fleets found themselves outmatched by an enemy they had never truly understood. The humans they had kept as peaceful slaves for 10,000 years were gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. Supreme Commander Sam Rodriguez coordinated the overall human defense from his command center on Earth. Banks of screens showed him the tactical situation across 50 star systems. The Alliance had committed over 3,000 ships to their surprise attack, expecting to crush human resistance quickly. Instead, they had walked into a trap that spanned half the galaxy. Phase 1 complete, Rodriguez announced to his staff. All Alliance attack fleets have been neutralized. Beginning Phase 2. Human fleets that had been hidden in asteroid fields and gas giant atmospheres suddenly appeared behind Alliance positions. The hunters became the hunted as human forces began systematically destroying Alliance military installations. Director Lisa Parker watched the battles from her intelligence center while coordinating humanity's most important mission. Long range. Sensors had detected the first machine scout ships entering the galaxy. The ancient enemy that had originally forged humanity into warriors was finally returning. "Admiral Morrison," Lisa transmitted to Jake's fleet, We need you to break off your attack on the Alliance forces. The real enemy has arrived. Jake studied the sensor data and felt a chill run down his spine. The machine ships were massive, each one the size of a small moon. Their hulls were made of materials that absorbed energy weapons and deflected physical projectiles. Conventional alien technology would be useless against them, but humanity was no longer conventional. All human fleets, new priority target. Jake, broadcast across the galaxy. Ancient enemy has returned. Prepare for the real war. On the Vexani homeworld, Elder Vexthani watched her civilization's military might crumble before human tactical superiority. The careful plans that had taken decades to develop were falling apart in hours. But as she studied the battle reports, she began to understand a terrible truth. The humans were not fighting to conquer. They were fighting to protect. Contact the Human Command Center, she ordered her communications officer. I need to speak with their leaders immediately. President Helen Davis received the transmission in her war room deep beneath Earth's surface. The alien elder who appeared on her screen looked ancient and tired, but not hostile. President Davis, Vexthani began. I have made a grave error. We all have. The machines you warned us about, our sensors confirm they are real. My people estimate we have days, not months, before they reach inhabited systems. Helen's expression remained cold. You spent 10,000 years keeping us prisoner. Why should we trust you now? Because if we do not work together, every living being in this galaxy will die, Vexthani replied simply. Our weapons cannot hurt the machines. Our strategies are useless against their hive intelligence. Only humanity has ever successfully fought them before. Helen looked at General Thompson, who nodded grimly. She's right. The Alliance species are not warriors. They never developed the mindset needed to fight an enemy like this. What are you proposing? Helen asked the Vexani elder. An alliance. A real one this time, between equals. Your people lead the military response. Our people provide industrial support and resources. Together, we might have a chance. Helen was quiet for a long moment. Then she made the decision that would define the future of the galaxy. Very well. But there will be conditions. First, immediate removal of all remaining peaceful veil technology. Second, full disclosure of all Alliance military assets and capabilities. Third, human command of all joint operations. Agreed, Vexthani said without hesitation. What do you need from us? Everything you have, Helen replied, and pray that it's enough. The first battle against the machines took place in the Rigel system, where a machine scout fleet encountered Admiral Morrison's task force. Jake had 50 human warships equipped with the most advanced weapons Amy Chen could design. The machines had 12 massive vessels that had been harvesting organic civilizations for millions of years. The battle was unlike anything humans had ever experienced. The machine ships moved with inhuman precision, their weapons tearing through space with devastating accuracy. But Jake and his fleet fought with something the machines had never encountered before: the tactical brilliance of fully awakened humanity. Human ships danced between machine formations, striking at weak points that their collective consciousness could identify in seconds. Amy Chen's new weapons punched through machine armor that had resisted everything the galaxy could throw at it. Most importantly, human commanders could adapt and improvise in ways that the machine's logical programming could not predict. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the machine scout fleet had been destroyed, but at a terrible cost. Jake had lost 15 ships and over 3,000 crew members. The machines were stronger than the ancient records had suggested. This is just the beginning, Jake reported to command. The main machine fleet will be 1,000 times larger than what we just faced. Across the galaxy, the greatest industrial mobilization in history began. Human worlds that had been peaceful farming colonies were transformed into weapons factories. Alliance species contributed their resources and manufacturing capabilities to the war effort. Amy Chen's weapon designs were mass-produced on hundreds of worlds, but it was not enough. Even with the combined resources of every civilized species, the Alliance could not match the raw power of the machine fleets. They needed something more. Tony Mitchell provided the answer. His awakened mind had been analyzing the machine technology captured from the scout ships. He discovered that the machines had a fatal weakness. They depended on a central control network that coordinated their actions across vast distances. If we can disrupt their network, Tony explained to the War Council, their fleets will lose coordination. They'll still be dangerous individually, but they won't be able to execute complex strategies. How do we disrupt a network that spans multiple galaxies? General Thompson asked. Tony smiled grimly. We use the one weapon the machines can't defend against: human unpredictability. The final battle took place at the edge of the galaxy where the main machine harvest fleet was gathering for their assault on organic civilization. The Alliance had assembled every warship from every species, over 10,000 vessels in the largest fleet in galactic history. But the real weapon was not the ships. It was the awakened human consciousness that now linked every warrior in the fleet. Alien crews found themselves thinking with human tactical instincts. Battle plans flowed through the network at the speed of thought. For the first time in galactic history, multiple species fought as one unified force. Jake Morrison led the assault from the command ship Unity, with Lisa Parker coordinating intelligence and Amy Chen managing weapon systems. As the two fleets clashed in the darkness between galaxies, the fate of all organic life hung in the balance. The battle raged for days. Machine ships larger than asteroids exchanged fire with Alliance fleets spread across light years of space. At the climax, Jake led a desperate assault on the machine command vessel, using human intuition to penetrate defenses that should have been impregnable. When the machine network finally collapsed, the Harvest fleet lost its coordination. Without their hive intelligence, the individual machine ships became vulnerable to Alliance tactics. One by one, they were destroyed or disabled. The threat that had haunted the galaxy for millions of years was finally ended. In the aftermath, the galaxy was forever changed. The peaceful veil was completely dismantled, and humanity took its place as the protectors of, or